Grid drawing is an excellent way to force yourself to slow down and draw exactly what you see. It's also an excellent technique for capturing something exactly, like a photograph, and it's great for making something larger than the original image. So great for murals or painting something large scale. To start, you will draw 5x7 1-inch boxes. My picture didn't print 5x7, so I have to use my ruler and capture the photograph where I want it to be. So I kind of push it over a little bit, and I'm putting a tick mark across the top at the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5-inch tick marks. I then turn my ruler the other way, and this is longer, so it's going to go from the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down to the bottom. I'm going to go across and draw a straight line. Make sure it's nice and straight with your edge. And I'm going to do the same on the other side, so I have an enclosed box that is 5x7. I'm going to do the same on both sides. Make sure your ruler is perfectly square on the other side, and then draw your lines to create your box. I always double check before I draw my grid, just in case I miscounted. Laying your ruler across, then you're going to put tick marks on the other side that match up. So what I should have done is just slid my ruler right on over. Same thing with the bottom. I could have laid it across the top, slid it down so I knew my tick marks would line up perfectly, but this works too. And I'm starting with my horizontal lines, and I'm drawing across my face. I'm not going to draw really dark at first, because if I make a mistake, I'll definitely need to erase it, and I don't want to have to restart completely. Go all the way across, connecting your 7 lines, and make sure that they're straight. If they seem to be crooked, stop what you're doing and check your tick marks. Do the same crossing with your vertical lines. A common mistake I see is not lining up both tick marks, but relying on just the top one. You need to see that your tick marks are lined up on a straight edge with your top and bottom tick mark. Somehow I've made 5x7 almost perfect squares. It's a miracle. I'm going to write in A, B, C, D, E across the top and 1 through 7 on the bottom. So when I do this again, I know exactly which box is which. Now you get to draw a grid again. This one's a little more complicated because we are going to still be doing 5x7, but it's 2-inch boxes. So really it's going to be 10x14 as far as inches, even though there's still 5 boxes across the top, 7 down the bottom. So you're going to put your tick marks at your even numbers. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, 5 boxes total, but you're going from 0 to 10. You're going to turn your ruler on the side, and I went ahead and numbered it, and you want it to line up. I don't have like a box where my picture printed, so I'm relying on eyeballing it. And my ruler stops at the 12. So I have to draw all the way to the 12 and then add 2 more inches at the bottom. It's a little complicated. Draw light in case you need to erase. Then you make your box. This is a little trickier because there's no photograph that printed, so you just have to line your ruler up evenly. And don't be scared to go back and erase. I never do things perfect the first time. Before you go to your second side, slide that ruler down and measure your tick marks down at the bottom so you know it lines up. Again, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, then draw your line. Sliding my ruler across, making sure that my ruler is a nice straight line. And I'm going to draw my tick marks at the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I'm going to stop, slide my ruler down, and add 2 more inches to the bottom so it totals to 14. That's a lot of math. It's easy math, but it definitely can be complicated. The best advice I can give is draw light, go slow, and double check your work often. Some of you guys are math superstars, and this is like really easy for you. But I made a C+ in college algebra, so I'm not bragging here. I need to slow down and take my time. Just like before, connect each horizontal line, making sure each tick mark is touching the ruler. It gets really annoying with this part because, again, my ruler is only 12 inches. As long as you have a straight edge, something that has no dents in it, you don't have to use a ruler to connect it. You just need a straight edge. So if you have something that's longer than that, or a yardstick, or you just have a longer ruler, a meter stick, something like that, you can use it. I just have to use what I have. And so I try to slide the ruler down so I know that the tick marks match up. It's a little annoying, but I'm making it work. And there we go, 5x7 2-inch boxes. Now it's time for the really challenging part, and that is the grid drawing itself. Make sure to label the same on both sides. So if you do numbers across the top on your photograph, do the same on your paper that you're drawing on, and always go back and count just in case you made a mistake. Okay, do a box at the time. A1 is a freebie, there's nothing in it. So A2, I'm just drawing my outline. I'm not drawing every hair that's on there. I'm gonna start with the outline of my head, hair, and shoulders before I do any crazy complicated details. What if you drew a perfect eye, but you drew it in the wrong spot? You can see I am tracing over every shape on the photograph, and then I'm copying it on the grid. Pay attention to where your shapes overlap. Tick marks are really helpful. Does your hair extend to the halfway point, past the halfway point, and then put a tick mark so that you draw the correct shape. It takes a lot of focus, so start with the big outside shapes first. This step is so important because everything else is going to interact with this outline. Double check to make sure you put everything in the right place before you give yourself a headache and draw all your small details wrong. I think the next easiest thing to do is the shape of your head, chin, neck, and down like into your shirt area. And this is when it really starts to look like you and it starts to get your facial features and characteristics. Double check that every line interacts the same way on your 5x7 grid than it does on your 10x14. Tick marks, going slow, overlapping each line. And if things look weird, ask yourself why. Which line did you put in the wrong place and how can you easily fix it? I get a little lazy at this point and I don't add all of those shapes in my hair, but you do need to add enough that you have like, okay, here's my white or light gray, here's my dark or medium gray to black, because you're going to be painting, drawing, and adding charcoal to those values. So think of it like a topographical map. Each shape represents a different value. More on that later. I started with my mouth, which is scary because now it has to look like you. Draw light, go slow, and really use those tick marks. Don't worry about what a mouth should look like or what you think a mouth looks like. Draw the shapes, draw the lines in each box. So instead of saying, hey, what does my mouth look like? Ask yourself, okay, what does D4 look like? What shapes are in the box? How big are they and how do they interact? A trick I've seen other art teachers use is making students draw their grid upside down. So you're not so concerned like, oh, my eyebrow, but you're thinking about the lines and shapes, not what you think an eyebrow should look like. Again, I'm drawing the black, gray, and white areas of my eye. Don't just draw what you think is black and white. You want to have some areas of light and medium gray so that your eye looks really shaded and every facial feature has a 3D natural effect. One of the scariest things in art is symmetry. I drew my right eye, now I have to draw my left eye and it has to look just as good or equal at least to the eye I drew. Immediately, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I look cross-eyed. Everything in art is practice, and every line or mark that you make is in relation to something else, and it might be wrong. So I am stressed out right now. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I look crazy, I look cross-eyed, but how can I change or fix it if I don't do it wrong and then look at it and correct it? So don't be scared to fail. Draw yourself cross-eyed, draw a weird looking nose, and then ask yourself, why does it look weird? Is it too big? Is it too small? Is it in the wrong place? And then once you have something laid out, you can adjust and fix it easier by comparing it to what else you've drawn. So keep going, even if you look crazy, cross-eyed, and like a serial killer, like I have looked in some of my self-portraits. As I get more confident with the placement of my shapes, I go back and add some of those gray and lighter details I was talking about. This portrait is going to be a mixed media where I use charcoal, watercolor, and pen. So I'm including all those shapes and I'm just drawing the blob of the shape. And it does look kind of weird, but this isn't a finished work of art. It's an outline or a sketch, so I'm going to fill in with lots of shading and value. Once I'm reasonably happy with my drawing, I'll stop, erase my grid lines, and then it's time to add all the other details to make this self-portrait come to life. Check out my video, The Mixed Media Self-Portrait, to see how to use charcoal, Sharpie pen, and watercolor to make a really fun and vibrant self-portrait. Check out my website, thatartteacher.com, for full and detailed lesson plans, including rubrics and student examples.